We are live.
Welcome to the Main Event Podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your night and day and whatever to be on my podcast tonight, old school.
Thank you.
I'll start by asking you, how long have you been roughing?
I started in August of 2000, and well, that's it, 2000. So about 18 years or so.
Wow.
What inspired you?
Wow, I'm old.
What inspired you to become a referee?
Well, let's face it, every one of us, both of you, we all wanted to be wrestlers, but I got busy with life. I became a teacher. I taught for 30 years, and I didn't have the time or the knowledge to be able to become a wrestler. So I had used to stand outside Maple Leaf Gardens years and years ago, and this young kid used to hang out with us, and there was about 4 or 5 of us, and we went to the hotel and got autographs, did all the stuff that you guys do. And he grew up to be Ronnie Hutchison, who ended up being the trainer of Trish Stratus and Edge and Christian and a bunch of guys. So we caught up years later, and I guess I was in my 40s when I said I would like to do something. I said, I know I'm too old to wrestle. So he invited me down. He was doing a thing at the CNE called the Iron Man Challenge, and they had wrestling every day at the X. And his line to me was, well, I don't know what we're going to do, but throw some running shoes in the car. So I get there, and do you have the running shoes? Yeah, just let me get my, I'll go to the car and get them. Okay, you're reffing the next match. Excuse me? So he handed me a Foot Locker shirt. You know the ones. Every referee starts with one. And so there we go. There was my first match. Vijay Singh versus a guy who ended up being called Kazarni in WWE. His name was Sin Bodhi. I see him once a year when I go down to Vegas. So that was my first match, and my instructions were get out of their way.
Wow, cool.
There was my training. I've learned a few things since. But true story.
What was your favorite wrestler? Who was your favorite wrestler to work with?
That's kind of an easy one. I think I'll let you guys answer that one. Of course, Bia is my favorite wrestler to work with because she was the first one, and I'm not meaning to cast shade on anybody, but because I was an older guy, I was around, I don't know how many years, 13, 14 years before I really had a friend in the wrestling, and that would be Bia. And she just became, since then, lots of people have befriended me, Carter Mason and a bunch of, Rex Atkins and Rob, of course, and Sierra. And they just treated me nicer. So I don't know what it is about Southern Ontario, but they sort of reached out and became my friends, so afterwards, hey, do you want to go out for a beer? That kind of stuff. And that never happened to me before. So that was pretty exciting stuff. So Bia is a little bit special in the heart. Her and Lauren, Skylar Rose are very close friends of mine. But I like working with them too. They're both really, really good wrestlers. And, I think Bia, I was lucky enough to be in Vegas and arrange the article in PWI on her. So that was pretty exciting. However, next year I'll be working on the article for me. But yeah, she's great. She's got what it takes, and I'm hoping she goes all the way. I think she might. So
cool.
I didn't tell you that I'm a big talker, did I?
Huh, cool.
I talk and talk and talk. So you have to stop me. You have to stop me.
Okay, we're cool with that.
Embrace us with your wisdom, O wise one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have no wisdom.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm going to move in my house again. I'm moving this. I like doing this. So show you different parts of my wrestling collections. Right. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to do this collection. There we go. More posters. There you go.
Nice.
That's cool.
Go ahead.
What was your favorite match that you ever reffed at Crossfire?
You know what? At Crossfire, you threw me off there. I thought you were going to say of all time. At Crossfire, I don't know. I really enjoyed, who I really enjoyed working with at Crossfire was Rikishi. Wrestling, we're just all people, right? And I'm a talker in the ring, and I don't know if you guys noticed that, out in the crowd, but I like to joke around in there, and I'm chatting the whole time I'm in there. It drives Tid nuts. Tid wants to kill me at the end of the matches. Custom pretty much the same. But Rikishi, and we were chatting in there, and at the end, when we got into the dressing room, he pulled me over, and he said, man, if we're not having fun, what the hell are we doing this for? And I thought, yay. So to a certain extent, yeah, that's the guy. And he was very friendly and very nice. So for what it's worth, he's just a good guy, and I really enjoyed working with him. But that was at Crossfire. I think that was one of my favorite matches. You put me on the spot there. Of course, every match with Bia or Lauren was great. Caitlin Diamond, love her too. So,
what was the biggest
shadow?
What was the biggest organization that you've worked for?
Basically, I worked the Ontario Indies. If you want to say the biggest match, that would be different. Do you want to ask that?
Sure, why not?
Because that would be a good one.
Okay.
Years and years ago, and it's a long, long, long story, so I won't tell you the long, long part. But I had the opportunity when the Fight Network started. I got to do the launch party, so it was not seen by any wrestling fans. It's never been seen ever, really. It was all media, and there was about 1,000 people, and it was down in the warehouse in Toronto. Very private show. And I actually got to referee at the time, and this would have been like 2006, 2007, a TNA World Championship. So I was pretty excited. And it was a 4-way tables match with Jeff Jarrett, Sabu, Rhino, and Samoa Joe. So that was kind of exciting with Petey Williams and Chris Sabin as the opener. So that was probably the most exciting night I've had in wrestling and probably the biggest show I did. As they opened up the curtain, on one side of me was Jimmy Hart, and on the other side of me was Bret Hart. There is no video, no pictures, no anything of that night. I think I have a picture of Rhino's leg and myself, but other than that, not too much. I was Samoa Joe's best friend for a night because he loves the MMA stuff, and they showed everything that night, so we hung out the whole day. Not that he'd ever remember me, but that was it was just one of those magical nights that everything sort of went right, and I got to hold the title, and it was big difference between the titles in Southern Ontario and the actual TNA belt back in 2006, because it was so heavy and so, professional, I guess you'd say, like a real belt. So I felt the 10 pounds of gold. I don't know what they call it, but maybe it was 8 pounds. I don't know.
That's cool. Let's see here. What do you like? What do you like being better, a heel or like fast count or face that the crowd likes?
I always call it straight down the middle. No, I love it all. And as I say, I talk to other referees and tell them, do exactly what I don't do. Like, don't do anything I do. Because I said, because of my age, I've developed into a character more than a referee. And I think people will realize that. It was not on purpose. I got old. And I wasn't getting a lot of bookings back in the day. And in the back, when I first started, there was only like 4 or 5 promotions in Ontario, let alone Southern Ontario. So I wasn't getting any work. And right now, as Sebastian, my friend Sebastian Swaff, he said there's 22 promotions in Ontario now, which is just amazing. So there's so much work now. It's just like, it's great. And the referees are a nice brotherhood, and we totally share work and things like that. But I changed my name. I was Eddington James, and Jason Sensation called me Eddington James III and made it like this, but Eddington James was a tribute to my dad. And all of a sudden I thought, why am I not getting booked? Is it maybe because I'm 63 years old? And I thought about it, and I thought, what can I do? I said, well, let's work with it. So I'm going to be old school. So I just happened to be doing a match that weekend with Steve Carino. So I asked him, I said, you're king of old school. Will you, I don't know what to do. Can I ask for permission? Can I use the word old school? And he laughed and said, oh, go use it. So I started calling myself old school. And I don't know why, but the bookings increased. I became became a character. People, the old guy, you count faster, that kind of stuff, which you hear all the time. And, that's fine with me. I don't mind. I got hired with Chris LaPlante just to make the story with Crossfire, which I think I did it for a little bit over a year there, or maybe 2. Some of my best days were with those guys, and I really enjoyed it. I have a history in Southern Ontario. Even though I live up north of Barrie, I used to do New Vision in Welland, and I did a show for a guy named Chuck Simpson. I don't know if you know him, Chuck Sims.
Oh, yeah, we know him.
Yeah, and he was fighting his student, this young kid, named Chris LaPlante years and years ago. And Chris always remembered me in that match. And of course, Chuck never booked me again until years later. But yeah, he remembered me, and so that's how I got the Crossfire gig. Just a great guy, and actually, we've gone a couple of years ago. We went to Vegas to do the Cauliflower Alley thing. So Chris and I remain friends, and you were at the Welland show maybe 6 months ago, so it's not like we're strangers. I just told him, I said, you know what, I don't want to do this on a regular basis anymore. The drive is 3.5 hours or 3 hours. I just can't do that every month, and guarantee I'm going to be there in February with the snow drifts and everything else. So I'm totally open to coming down and doing a show or two anytime he wants me to, and he knows that. So hopefully we'll see you again down there, that area.
Cool.
Good, because we both love old school.
Yes, we do.
Yay!
You're my
October
favorite.
in January.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. We'll see you there.
On the Rob and Dave show.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have a name for that promotion yet, but if they do, maybe I don't even know what it's
I
called.
think it's like Millennial Wrestling Organization or something like that.
You know what? I think you're right. I think I did see that somewhere. Now that you say, you start working for so many companies, you forget. I'm working more than I've ever worked in my life before, by the way, and pretty thrilled. Like you were saying, which is the biggest company. I was quite excited a couple of weeks ago. I got booked by Lucha TO, which is has all the big stars there, and I did the show a couple of weeks ago, and this weekend, I'm not doing a cheap plug here. Of course, I'm doing a cheap plug. If you happen to be in Toronto and you're at the Sex Show, yes, you're hearing me correctly, the Sex Show, I will be there on Friday night and Sunday night. Could have done the Saturday one, but I'm already booked in Brantford. But so if you want to get get educated on sex and get all your merch, I'll be there doing wrestling in front of 9 people, I'm sure. So there you go.
What are your thoughts on Bia becoming the new Crossfire Women's Champion?
Well, I don't have a lot of thoughts, and I'm glad for it and everything, but I'm so out of touch with Crossfire. I don't exactly know what's going on. I thought I saw a poster. I think she's going against Caitlin, is she?
Yeah,
Caitlin she's going against?
Caitlin at the next show, yep.
Yeah, well, Caitlin's been... Yeah, and those two, when you think of women's wrestling in St. Catharines, I mean, those two are the ones you think about, and I love both of them, so... of course, you know who I'm cheering for, but
yep.
I have to do that fine line before she's just a really good friend of mine. I call her my wrestling daughter. You have to watch that fine line into creepy, but no, she's just one of my favorite people. But Rob's one of my favorite people too, so understand that. Actually, just mentioning Bia, and I don't mean to obsess about her, but I'm doing a show next month for Barrie Wrestling. I'm back with them again. I'm very excited about that. And I did last month, and they did a Silesia Bia match, which was amazing. And Bia totally upset Silesia, who's, big ROH star. The stipulation, nobody told me about it. I read it on a poster, is that I'm not allowed to ref. Now, I don't know where this comes from, but I don't understand what people's perception is, but that's the stipulation. She can have a rematch with Silesia, but old school can't ref. I don't know. This, as if I would have made a difference, as if I was being prejudicial or something, or one-sided. I don't believe it. I like Silesia too. So see what that goes. I'm holding a selfie stick and it's getting tired.
You got any questions for him, Robbie?
Actually, speaking of you being a teacher, old school, explain a little more about yourself that we may not know about you, if any.
Okay, you want the whole thing? All right, I've been married for 36 years. I taught for 30 years, mostly grade 4 to 8, and mostly grade 6. That was my favorite. As I always say, they're old enough to talk about the Leaf game last night and young enough to play Lego on the floor. So that's the age group I love to death. Certainly, my classroom was covered in wrestling pictures of me. And the interesting thing about kids today is they really don't know a lot about wrestling. The first question they ask you is, do you know John Cena or The Undertaker? Which obviously is no and no. And, when you come home for a weekend and say, hey, I just refereed, Carlito, or I refereed, some of these guys, they have no idea who you're talking about because it was a couple of years ago. It's not right in the present. Kids don't really know much about wrestling. That was my experience anyways. I've been retired now I guess I'm in my 4th or 5th year now. So as I said, today is my pressing job. Why you couldn't get a hold of me is because I was babysitting my granddaughter. So my phone was put away. So that's about it. That's the summary. I'm moved up about half an hour north of Barrie now, and I think I'm in my forever home, whatever that means.
If you could put together a dream match that you would want to referee, what match would that be?
Oh my goodness. You know who I'd like to referee right now? I don't know who we'd go against, but the guy that I really like, you're talking about anybody in the world, I hope.
Yes.
Pete Dunne. I love Pete Dunne. I think he's great. I gotta tell you, this is a secret. Don't let anybody find this out. I don't really watch WWE. I don't care for the product. NXT I like a lot. I love their tournaments. Of course, I have the network. But the tournaments, like the women's tournament, the British tournament, they were so good. It brings me back to wrestling. That was a question I thought you'd ask me, is how is wrestling compared to when I was younger? Because I've been a wrestling fan for 50 years. And that's the thing. The storytelling was great. You don't have to do 1,000 flips to make a storyline. Sorry, all my friends who do the flips and stuff, but keep it simple, do it well was my philosophy. And when I used to teach grade 6s, keep it simple, do it well. And you don't need to do all that. And that's why you guys love Crossfire. And that's why you like all the shows down in Southern Ontario, because you don't have a lot of the super flippy dippy guys. Even like somebody like, I was going to call him Robbie Reckless. That's my Ryan Swift. Sorry. Oops. He does it. But when he does it, there's a reason. And he has more wrestling knowledge, that guy. Him and Rex Atkins know so much about wrestling. They know how to work a really, really good match. So as I say, WWE, I don't know why I don't like it so much, but the NXT and NXT is coming sort of a resurgence again. I really like it again, which there was a point there I didn't like it as much, but now I'm really liking it again. I don't know where the question was, but I can't remember now because I'm so old, I've forgotten. There we go.
Fair enough.
So ask me something else.
What advice do you have for someone getting started in the wrestling business?
As a wrestler or a ref?
Either or.
Either or. You can do both if you want.
Either or?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's sort of the same, I think. Realize you're going to work really, really hard, harder than you've ever worked in your life before. Not to get to my level. I mean, obviously, I didn't have to do the sacrifice and things that other people do. But if you want to make it, like, and I, who I'm telling this to, these kind of advice I'm giving to, Bia and some of the younger people that I think, Carter Mason, I don't know if you get to see him a lot down there, but these guys have really dedicated. D-Man's another one that I love to death. These are guys who really, really want to make it, and they've basically given their life to wrestling, and that's what you've got to do. Now, I've been lucky enough, especially with women. I've been lucky enough to, I did Gail Kim's early matches. I did Tracy Brooks' early matches, Beth Phoenix's early matches. I don't know what it is about girls, but I've had a Cherry Bomb, who's now Allie, and Rosemary, who, had couple of different names. I've worked with all those people a lot. And you just have to sacrifice and give your life to it. And it's timing and it's luck. I've sort of glanced over that I've been to Cauliflower Alley a couple of times, which is, a convention of all old wrestling fans or wrestling fans, I shouldn't say that, and old wrestlers. And so talking to them, you have to give up your family life. I mean, I don't know if you saw the 30 for 30 with Ric Flair lately, but you saw what he had to give to be the best in the world. And to make it now, it's timing, it's luck. Sean Spears, you know Sean, of course. He's like the hardest worker in the business. The two that I don't understand, he's at least a 9.5. Cody Deaner and Tyson Dukes, why they haven't made it, I don't know. They've done everything right. Just don't know why they haven't quite made it. But yeah, you can do everything right and it still doesn't mean anything. But I guess the whole thing is when you're in the dressing room, the best advice I give them is shut your face and listen. Listen to the old veterans. Doesn't matter what kind of style they did. They have stuff to pass on. You've got down there, you've got my good Vegas drinking buddy, Bobby Bass. Listen to him. He's been there. He's been at Maple Leaf Gardens and wrestled. He's been out, in Calgary and wrestled, East Coast and wrestled on TV and everything else. Listen to these guys. They really do have good advice. And happy to see my buddy Hornet now on WWE refereeing. So that's awesome. And like I say, it's timing, it's luck, it's networking, getting yourself out there. One of my friends from Cauliflower Alley is Dan Murphy, who writes PWI and does the top 50 and the top 500 that we all, the one issue I buy a year, or the 2 issues I guess I buy a year. So, you know, I was lucky enough to be able to push Bia a little bit to the point where he was like, if you mention Bia one more time, I'm going to, how about if he actually said, I will write an article on him if you shut up about her. So, it's all that timing. I just happened to meet this guy and it all worked out, right? Ronnie Hutchison, I just happened to meet him. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known how to become a referee or get involved in the business. So it's timing, it's luck, but you got to get yourself out there. I mean, there's Rex Atkins today coming back from a 6-week tour, I think, with Thorn. That's away from your family. It's tough sacrifice, and you don't. The one thing I want to make sure is very clear to the fans: you don't make much money. I lose hundreds of dollars a year refereeing. Hundreds. I just got one of my 407 bill the other day and it was like, holy moly. Basically, you know, you might make gas money. But if you're expecting to make money while you're working up towards, you know, TNA or WWE, there isn't any. You really aren't. You will make more money if you work for, Foodland or, you know, wherever you're, Sobeys or whatever else. You'll make more money if you work there. So if it's money you're after, it's got to be, it's that long-term goal. You just got to dedicate yourself, get in the gym, learn, train. That's about it. But it is luck and it is timing. So.
What are your thoughts on
there you go. There's lots of great.
Okay, what are your thoughts on the man himself, the infamous Jay Mohr?
Well, he used to be my boss. Remember I mentioned New Vision? He actually was the boss there. So Jay Mohr and I have a lot of history together. I'm not sure how kayfabe we are here, but he is one of my favorite people in the business, to be honest. I hate with a passion refereeing matches with him. He makes it so hard. I am dizzy because I'm yelling at him so much, and that's a true story. I've actually had to grab the ropes a couple of times because I just get so mad at him because he interferes so much.
I know.
One of the last shows I did for Crossfire. Yeah, like one of the last shows I did for Crossfire, there were 6 matches, and this is in beautiful St. Catharines, and he interfered in 4 of them. And I was like, holy moly, that's enough. I went home exhausted. So yeah, he's great for the business. He gets himself out there. I saw he was doing things in the parade, and he gets involved in the city. And I think he's really good for the business. Do I enjoy his antics? Not when I'm in the ring. No.
All right. Do you have any questions for him, Robbie?
I think we've covered pretty much everything.
All right.
Everything you want to know about Southern Ontario wrestling right here, right now, with old school Eddington James. Just having some fun.
We know.
I don't get to do this very often.
That's not every day you get to talk to the Dilts boys either.
I know.
Yeah, that's true. My biggest fans of St. Catharines, I got to tell you, always look for you in the crowd for sure if I'm anytime in Southern Ontario. And you know what? I hope I'm like that with everybody. And I really do think the whole thing about wrestling in Ontario are the great fans. I know the Hamilton fans. I know the St. Catharines fans, the Barrie fans. I don't want to forget anybody, but I mean, I do a lot of cities, but those ones, especially Brantford, they all have different fans, and hopefully I know a bunch of them. Kitchener. Oh, gee.
Yeah, Kitchener.
Whoops. My home promotion. Whoops.
Yeah. PWA.
And they're all okay. I won't be working with them very much longer. No, I love all the fans, and I try to get to know them, and I try to say hi, and I'm try to be as polite as I can. That's another thing. I definitely think that if you want to make it in this business, you have to be great with the fans because that's why you're there. Probably the best person in Ontario like that would be, you know who, our relationship actually is from dancing, believe it or not. We met dancing and in a little small town in Lefroy I didn't even know she was in training. I just knew she was Rob's girlfriend and at the time. And we just loved to dance. That's our biggest thing. But our second biggest thing, what we really got to be friendly about was our love for kids and being a teacher. And she's an ECE, I believe it's called. And she works with children as well. And every arena Atlanta, you just see the kids going, just going crazy for her. She's starting to expand now and get to the States, which is awesome. And the kids are loving her down there too. And she's always surprised about stuff like that. And I just think she has so much charisma that I've lost my train of thought again because I'm old.
That's all right. One of Bia's newest fans happens to be Sean's niece, actually.
Yeah, my niece.
There you go.
Yep.
Well, it's also, a lot of, I used to say, I used to tell Bea, I said, you out Bailey. You are better than, because Bailey at the time when she was with NXT had this sort of same kind of gimmicky thing. I don't know Bailey at all, but it's all legit with Bea. Like, she really does love the kids and loves her fans. And, she would miss it so much if she just loves it. That's all I can say. I don't want to talk about her so much. I want to talk about me. She gets enough time. So heck with that.
Yeah,
this is my time.
I enjoy seeing those videos that she posts of like you and her dancing and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's all legit. Like, it's all true. We just love doing it, and that's our big relationship. And people always wonder. And I said, yeah, we like to dance. We like kids. That's it. There's nothing more to it. So there you go.
All right. Anything else, Robbie? Or
I'm pretty much solid with what we've
beating
talked
a dead horse.
Yeah. All right. I want to thank you for taking time out to be on this podcast tonight.
Not a problem. I'll end it with, this is Old School out. 1, 2.